If you are interested in learning backend development with Java and Spring Boot, then you are in the right place. Hello everyone, I'm Alex. Welcome to Java Spring Boot for Absolute Beginners. I'm excited to guide you on your journey into Java backend development using Spring Boot. Today, we are starting a new project to build a library management tool. This application will help us manage books, users, and loans, essentially simulating how a library operates. Whether you are completely new to programming or have some experience with Java, this session is designed to be hands-on and beginner-friendly. I will keep things simple and straightforward. So, let's dive in. In the next 10 minutes, I will try to teach you what is a backend development. I will try to make you understand what frameworks are. You will get an overview of Spring and Spring Boot. We will create our first Spring Boot application. Then we are going to import the project into our IDE, which is IntelliJ. We'll run our application, and I will give you a very quick introduction to configuration. Let's start with the first topic. What is a backend development? Imagine you are using a library management system or browsing an online bookstore, like this one. Everything you see on the screen, the buttons, the text, and the images, is the front end. It's like the tip of the iceberg that users interact with, but beneath the surface lies the backend. This is where the real magic happens. The backend is responsible for storing and retrieving data, for example, getting information about available books or user profiles, the business logic, the rules that dictate how data is processed, for instance, determining if a book can be borrowed based on its availability, processing requests, handling what happens when you click a button to borrow a book. Think of the backend as a kitchen in a restaurant. You don't see it, but it's essential for preparing your meal. What is a framework? Building a backend from scratch can be overwhelming. That's where frameworks come in. A framework is like a set of pre-built tools and guidelines. It helps you build applications faster and more efficiently. Think of it as following a recipe instead of inventing a dish from scratch. Why use a framework? So it helps us save time. Common features are already built for you, so you can focus on what's unique about your project and your business. Consistency provides a standard way of doing things, which makes your code easier to understand. And of course, you have the community support. Many developers use frameworks, so there's plenty of help available online. Let's get an overview of what Spring and Spring Boot is. The Spring Framework is a popular Java framework for building backend applications. It helps manage the complexity of your code by handling common tasks. The key concepts are inversion of control. So instead of your code controlling everything, the framework manages the setup and management of objects. It's like having an assistant who sets everything up for you. And the dependency injection, your classes can request the things they need, dependencies, and the framework provides them. This approach makes your code cleaner and easier to test. Here is a quick introduction to Spring Boot. Spring Boot is built on top of Spring to simplify the setup process. It makes it easier to create standalone production-ready applications. The benefits of Spring Boot is that it is auto-configured, so automatically sets up your application based on the libraries you include. We have the starter dependencies, bundles of libraries for specific functionalities that you can add with a single line. And it's a standalone applications, so you can run your application without needing an external server. But that's it. Let's jump into the action now. So let's create our first Spring Boot application using the Spring Initializer. First thing that you will need to do is to visit the website start.spring.io. You can find the link in the video description. So open your browser and go to startspring.io. Then you will see this page landing in front of you. This is a web-based tool that helps us create a Spring Boot project quickly. You can see a few options here. So let's start with the project settings. So in the project settings, you have to choose Gradle Groovy. Our language of choice will be Java. The current Spring Boot version that we are going to use is the 3.3.4. And then we have the project metadata. Here we have to set a group for our project. Say that our project will be like com tutorials. For artifact, this is the name of the project, so we can name it like library management. The name is going to be the same and will be auto-filled from the artifacts. You don't need to edit that. And for the description, we can say this is our first Spring Boot app So the package name is also autofilled. So it's going to be com tutorials.library.management. The package is going to be jar, and the Java version, the newest currently, it's Java 23. So we're going with that. On the right side, you can see the dependencies. Click on the add dependencies and search for Spring Web. This Spring Web will include all the tools that we need to build a web application. Then in the bottom of the screen, click on Generate. So first thing that you will need to do is to navigate in the folder that you downloaded the zip file, double click and unzip the folder. Then we have to use our IntelliJ IDE. Now in IntelliJ, I have already opened the project, but if you haven't and you don't know how, you need to go on the file, open, and navigate in the folder that you have downloaded, the zip folder, and you unzip that. Just select the folder and click open. It's going to take a few minutes for the libraries to be loaded, but after that, you should see a similar file structure like this one here. As you can imagine, the application.java file is our entry point. And that's it. The project is already set up. We run our application. I would like to explain what this Spring Boot application annotation does here. So whatever you see something with that starts with @ and a name after that, above a class or above a method, it's called an annotation. This add Spring Boot applications allows Spring Boot to understand that this is the entry point of our Spring Boot application. And very simply, you can run the application by clicking on this run button here. The first time it's going to take a few seconds for everything to load and start, but should be ready very soon. And as you can see in our console, it says Tomcat started at port 8080. That's it. We already created and imported our application in IntelliJ. And that's it. We managed to run our application. Now, if we move to a web browser, I will jump to Chrome. You can visit localhost 8080, and you will see a white label error page. This is normal. I will explain in the next episode what this is and how we can change that. But okay, now that our application is running, let's touch on configuration. You will notice this application.properties file inside the project, right? So the file is located always in the source main resources folder. It's where you can configure settings for your application, such as the database connection or the port of the server. For example, if we say it here, server.port equals to 8090, we can save and restart our application. You will notice in the console that Tomcat now started on the port 8090. And if we jump back in the web browser, now if you try to refresh at port 8080, it's not going to work anymore. But if you switch to port 8090, we get the same error, which is what is expected. So congratulations, that's it. You have just created your new Spring Boot application for our library management tool. You have learned about the basics of backend development and frameworks and explored basic project setup and configuration. In the next video, we'll dive into the project structure and we'll learn much more useful things. See you soon. Bye.